continue collecting, and remember, stay casual. Welcome back, casual collectors. I'm Steel Wolf.
And Spider Kid.
And today we're bringing you a review of the DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys Superman of Earth 3, aka Ultraman.
So yeah, he's a little outdated and old, but in case you were on the fence about picking this guy up, just know you can still get him on Amazon for $24.99 and pretty much sold out everywhere else.
Okay, so for box details, we can see DC Multiverse right there in the bottom with Superman of Earth -3. You can also see Starro as the Build-A-Figure, shown by this one Build-A-Figure piece, which is the eye. And we can also see Superman right there, or Ultraman. Now if we go to the side, we can see a little window showing Ultraman's hand, and again DC Multiverse with the name Superman of Earth -3. So now for the back, you can see a nice little picture of Ultraman fighting Starro, which I believe is the Build-A-Figure, with also the other figures in the wave. And you can see here, you can see where this piece will go on to the Build-A-Figure, with again Starro right there at the bottom. Now if we go to the side, we can see Superman of Earth -3 with also Crime Syndicate. Now going to the top, we can see a nest in a window and a little broken piece of cardboard. Now if we go to the bottom, we can see a bunch of illegal stuff. Okay, so now with all that said, let's go into the story and find out how just one mistake changed his whole life.
Alright, here we have Ultraman out of the package and looking pretty damn sweet. I mean, wow. I gotta say, I just love these McFarlane figures. They just look so cool. Although already off the bat, though, I feel that maybe there's issues with the feet. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Before we get into more detail on Ultraman, let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories that he comes with. Alright, and here you can see all the accessories that come with Ultraman. So let's first start off with the collector card. So here we have a close-up of the card, and man, it looks great. And then lately, they've been using the actual figures in the art for the cards. I believe in the very first couple of McFarlanes, they were basically using the comic book cover that the figures came from. But I think now they've moved on to just using the actual figures, which honestly, either way, I'm good with it. I mean, they look great. Let's take a look at the back here. And we have a smaller little picture of Ultraman. And here we have an actual little read-up of Ultraman. So if you want to read that, you know what to do. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the next accessory. We have our standard issue DC Multiverse stand. And here's your one peg. And we all have seen this plenty of times before. Next thing, let's take a look at his actual accessory, which is a mini Starro. And wow, all I can say is wow, this thing looks amazing. Just look at that detail. I love the way that they use the different paints here. It kind of gives it a little bit of like I don't know if it's like a damaged look or just a wear look, but man, that looks great. It's got all these sculpted ridges on it. It's so cool. All these wrinkles. That's awesome. And this is a soft plastic too, by the way. So it's not a rigid plastic, it's soft. So you can definitely use this for multiple characters. And I love the way that they did this kind of translucent plastic in here for the eyes. That is so awesome. Oh man, look at that, even more detail. And this is what I love about McFarlane stuff, is that they put detail into areas that don't need to have detail, but they just go the extra mile. I mean, like, how often are you going to be looking at the back of this? But geez, look at that. All the little individual suction cups are all sculpted in there. And then we even get a mouth. Look at that. It's got some gnarly teeth in there. Very awesome, this accessory here. This little mini Starro, 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Very awesome. And for the last, but not least, technically this isn't an accessory. It's the collect to build figure, and it is Starro. And already, I mean, we're not going to cover too much of this because we can't, since we don't have the rest of him. But I mean, just take a look. Amazing sculpt. Look at all this stuff. And this is too kind of like a softer rubber or plastic. That's what it kind of feels like. But it's all sculpted, and I love the way they did this eye. It's kind of translucent, as you can see my fingers through here. It's got like this kind of haze to it, but it looks awesome. Here's the back. Can't wait to get the rest of this guy. He's going to be so cool to add him to the collection. Very awesome. Let's go ahead and demonstrate how this guy would actually sit onto our figure here. So it's definitely too big to put him on the face. I mean, look at that. It's actually, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look too bad, but he can't wrap completely around, and it's just kind of sitting there. It'll definitely fall off, you know, but I believe that it's more meant to go on the chest area here, kind of like hugging his chest. I believe this is how it's meant to go on. I don't know, can that go on his face there? Maybe. Yeah, maybe move it this side over here. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. That's what it's basically meant to do, is kind of just hug him like that. That looks good though. It doesn't look too big, doesn't look, you know, too awkward. It looks good. Yeah, it looks really good. And for sure, this is compatible with your other McFarlane toys, definitely. All right, with the accessories out of the way, let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the details on Ultraman here. Let's go ahead and start with the head here. And right away, gotta love that choice they made with the eyes. It kind of gives them this kind of creepy, kind of evilish look. I mean, it looks like he's getting ready to just heat vision someone to death, but who knows? Or maybe it's supposed to be like this because he's under Starro's control, who knows? But it looks great. And then I gotta love that expression he has, kind of like that, you know, stern, kind of, you know, ominous expression. He's not really angry, he's not, you know, upset.
A dead face, kind of?
Yeah, definitely. And then look at this hair. That's really cool. I like the way they do the hair. It kind of has like a wind effect almost, you know, but it looks good. Very intricate sculpt on the hair. Got some little bit of extra plastic along the jawline there. Let's go down to the chest area. I mean, gotta love this logo, man. That's awesome. And they definitely went with more like a 3D effect versus it just being flat, you know, on his chest. It's more like it's popping out, as you can see there. They used definitely some matte finishes here. Let's go to the arms here. Big old biceps. Nothing much to talk about when it comes to the actual outfit, you know. It's blue, it's got some sculpted lines here and there, you know. Here we have the hands, fisted hands. That's all we get, but you know, I'd rather have fisted hands than awkward open hands or, you know, weapon holding hands. I think this is great for a Superman type figure. Here we have some more sculpting here on the chest, kind of makes it look like he's got a little bit of padded armor there. Same thing with this side, nothing much to talk about other than these cuffs. More of that sculpt here, looks good. We can definitely see some muscle definition on the abs here, that looks great. And then we got this kind of weird looking buckle for his belt. Well, I guess he's not wearing a belt, but you know, for the shorts part of the uniform or whatever you want to call it. You got the same thing over here on the side, that looks good. A nice silver metallic type of paint they did with that. These shorts are definitely a different style or a different type of plastic. It's more of a softer plastic to allow for mobility when it comes to moving the figure around. And it got a little bit of a different type of shade of color to it than the other blue. Because if you can see, this is more like a little bit of a shinier blue, and this is more of a matte blue. But they kind of did the same thing in the chest here. It's more of a matte versus the arms that are more shinier. So there's definitely some subtle differences in blues here. Down to the legs, we got some more subtle sculpted lines here to make it look like he's wearing some kind of padding. But we can see muscle definition, which is great. Down to the boots here, these boots look great, nice clean painted lines, looks good. Nothing much here on the shin area. Down to the feet, very basic, you know, there's not much to talk about. And then let's come back to the top of the figure, but let's turn them around. You can see a lot of great sculpt on the cape, and these McFarlane's capes always come out looking really nice. And I feel that they keep kind of, you know, experimenting with different plastics for the capes, because I've noticed that they've gone from being very stiff to almost really, really loose or soft, you know, because this one is particularly nice and flexible. I mean, towards the edges, you know, it gets a bit more stiffer, but definitely like in the middle-ish area, it feels nice and wavy, you know, it's definitely foldable. I mean, look at this. Fold this thing very well. You know, and I think that's the way to go, especially with these plastic ones. I mean, if we're not going to get, you know, cloth capes, then I think this is kind of the right step to go for it, you know, be a lot more softer. Well, let's go ahead and pull this up here, take a look at the back. We got some more sculpted lines here, which look great. Again, looks like padding for this suit. More sculpted lines down here on the lower back. There's the Ultraman butt going down to the thigh area, back of the thighs here. There's not much sculpt, a little bit of sculpted lines for the suit, but that's about it. There's the back of the calf, nothing really to talk about there. And the bottom of the feet here, we got no treads, but we do have peg holes. And that's gonna do it for the details on Ultraman. All right, and let's get into some articulation here on Ultraman. So let's go ahead and start with the head, and he can look up about that much, which is pretty good, definitely good for those flight poses. And he can look down about that much, and that's not bad actually, not bad at all. And he can move his head to the left here, he can move it to the right, and he can go a complete 360 Exorcist style. And let's see if he has a power driver motion here, and very slightly, as you can see there, slight power driver motion. He can tilt the head about that much, and to the other side you can tilt it about that much, so that's not bad. Moving on to the arms here. The arms can rotate a complete 360, as you can see. And the arms here will come up about that much, slightly hindered by this cape here. Continuing on the arm here, he does have a bicep swivel, as you can see right there. And he does have those small little butterfly joints there, as you can see, which is pretty neat, because that means that he can actually move this arm out that far back, which is pretty neat. And you can also bring it to his chest about that much. You can bring it in about that much. So if we get the other arm and bring this one in as well, they go into about that much. That's not too shabby. So continuing on the arm, besides these butterfly joints that he has here, and besides this bicep swivel, he does have double jointed elbows. As you can see, they go into about that much, so that's pretty damn good. It looks a little awkward right here though, but it's still pretty good articulation there for those double jointed elbows. Great for those cool Superman shots right there. Look at that. Yeah, it looks cool. All right, and then moving on down to the hand itself, it can swivel there, and if you can see there when it was moving, it is on a ball hinge right there. So it'll hinge up like that, or it can hinge down just like that. Not bad. And obviously the same thing goes for the other side there. So moving down to the chest area here, he can rotate his upper body, as you can see, just like that, and it does spin around. And he can ab crunch forward. Let's move this arm out the way. You can ab crunch forward about that much, and you can ab crunch back a hell of a lot. Pretty cool for flight poses. I mean, look at that. Looks pretty awesome. You can actually also tilt on the waist there, as you can see. And down here in the pelvic area here, his crotch area, this is like a softer plastic. This is pretty neat. I like this because it doesn't hinder on the articulation, so that's pretty cool. So let's check it out though. Let's see how far he can kick forward. So he can kick forward that much, which is pretty damn good. And he can kick back. He can kick back about that much. And it's mainly because of the Superman butt that gets in the way. And as with McFarlane's, we don't have any upper thigh cut, but they do slightly rotate, as you can see here. Now for the knees, we do get double jointed knees, as you can see here, and they go into about that far. He can do the splits to about this much here, and he can probably go a little more, but I think the shorts are actually hindering the articulation just a bit, but it's still not bad for what it can do. Moving down to the boot area here, or the calf area, we have no calf or boot swivel, but we do get ankle pivot, as you can see. Now his feet will kick up about that far up, and they will kick down that far. And he does have toe articulation, as you can see there. And that's going to do it for articulation on Ultraman. Alright, and Ultraman measures out to be just a little bit above the 7-inch mark. All right, and so for size comparisons, here we have Ultraman next to the McFarlane the Batman. All right, and for another size comparison with the different toy line here, we have the McFarlane Ultraman next to the G.I. Joe Classified Crocmaster. All right, and for another comparison with different toy lines, here we have the McFarlane Ultraman next to the SH Figure Arts Son Goku, and also the Mafex Logan. All right, and for a final comparison with other toy lines, here we have Ultraman again, next to the Marvel Legends Venomized Deadpool, and also the Black Series Luke Skywalker.
And to be honest, Luke looks super small for the Superman.
Yeah, I mean, that Superman is just hulking compared to all these guys right here. Even next to that Crocmaster, he looked tiny compared to this Superman.
I mean, that's a good thing if you think about it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when I see Superman, I expect him to be big and bulky and, Superman. All right, and now for some final thoughts. So, my opinion, pretty damn cool figure. His look looks awesome. I mean, he doesn't look evil, but the guy is an evil bastard. I think that he came out looking pretty sweet. The hair, I like the way that they had the laser eyes or the heat vision, kind of like looking like he's about to use it. That was pretty cool. I really do wish they would have gave us a heat vision accessory.
Oh, so like how Cyclops had it.
Yeah, something like Cyclops or like one of the Mafex Supermans. I'm sure they have the heat vision effects, but I don't think McFarlane's given us a heat vision effect yet. We have so many Supermans, but no heat vision effect. Or I'd even like to see an ice breath effect. Something like that would be pretty cool for Superman, but I really wish we would have got that. So that's one of my complaints there. But other than that, the figure's pretty solid. I do love the way that they sculpted the Ultraman logo because it's like a 3D effect. That looks really cool on him. It's not just like it's a print on his shirt or it's just painted on. It's actually sculpted on there. So I do think that that gives it more depth and it looks very awesome. The cape looks cool, although I really, really wish it was cloth cape. I mean, I think you could just get some really cool poses if it was a cloth cape with the bendy wire in it, but not yet, I guess, not yet. However, everything else is awesome on the character. His articulation is pretty spot on, which I was very surprised because the other Superman that we have that McFarlane did, which was one of the first Supermans he did, the articulation wasn't all there really, but this one, hell of an improvement. I mean, this guy moves pretty damn well.
Especially the arms are really good.
Yeah, and he's a big figure to boot, a 7-inch figure, but he's still pretty big. Accessory-wise, not bad, we get the fisted hands, which is absolutely a must, we get, one of these little Starro spawns or spores or whatever you want to call this guy, and this guy just came out looking pretty freaking awesome. He does attach to the chest, although I wish we would have got a smaller one that would attach to the face. I think that would have been cool too, but
kind of like how it is in the comics.
Yeah, but I mean, just the way this guy came out, he looks awesome. I love this translucent stuff they use for the eyeballs. That looks freaking cool. So yeah, definitely really cool, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to complete Starro. I think he's gonna look so freaking cool, but we'll save that for later. So yeah, no real complaints with this guy. Well, I guess, another complaint would be that I wish we would have got a stand for him, like a flight stand. Your basic McFarlane stands are these ones. These are the flight stands here that he uses. And honestly, we were trying to pose this guy in this same pose with this stand, and we just could not do it. It's very kind of weird the way it works. I mean, maybe we're just not used to using stands. I don't know, but I'm not liking this. When we finally did get him to sit on this, the stand would not support his weight. So we had to go ahead and use this NECA flight stand here, which is not my favorite either, but it definitely works. It's strong enough to hold him up, so that kind of worked pretty good.
My final thoughts are that I think it's a really good figure. I like how the arms aren't so stiff and the legs aren't stiff. The amount of movement on the chest area is pretty good. Surprisingly, the head movement's pretty good too. You look up a lot, down. The only problem I really have with it is just the accessory. There's something about those like that one accessory. It's just that you don't get a lot of it. For example, you don't get any open hands or any I don't know, say any other hands. You don't get another head. Doesn't have the laser effect.
Yeah, some of those chopping hands or those flat palmed hands, like the flight ones, would have been nice.
Yeah, and then definitely a flight stand for him. I feel like that should be required for every Superman.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really love the paint though. I love how it's all bright, besides him not being a bright character. Definitely though, I do wish though that they did have a cloth cape. Thankfully, they're doing it now with that flash wave. I'm just not sure if it has Benny Wire in it though.
Alright, it's that time again, folks, for our rating. And as always, you can see that rating there on the left. And I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a rating of...
Alright, so I'm gonna give him a rating of...
And that's going to do it for our review on the McFarlane DC Multiverse Ultraman. I'm Steelwolf.
and Spider Kid.
Continue collecting, and remember, stay casual.